One of the Royal Air Force's most popular light bombers, the Bristol Blenheim, owes its origins to a newspaper magnate. It was the military version of a small transport aeroplane ordered by Lord Rothermere in 1934. Rothermere had asked the Bristol Company to build him the fastest commercial aeroplane in Europe, if not the fastest in the world. When the Bristol Type 142 first took to the air, it proved to be extremely fast. Indeed, it was faster than any military aeroplane in service, including the fighters. The maximum speed registered during this test flight was almost 310 miles per hour. The military version of the aeroplane was not as remarkable. Although 5,500 Bristol Blenheims were built in Great Britain and Canada, they were never exceptional combat aeroplanes, as they were underarmed and thus extremely vulnerable to enemy fighter attack. The prototype of the commercial aeroplane ordered by Lord Rothermere first took to the air on April 12, 1935. Because of the aircraft's outstanding performance, Rothermere donated it to the nation 2 months later as a potential bomber. The Air Ministry had a series of meetings with the Bristol Company and in August decided that the Type 142 could be successfully adapted as a bomber. The first order of 150 aeroplanes was placed sight unseen. The Bristol Blenheim Mark I was an all-metal mid-wing twin-engine aeroplane with retractable undercarriage. Power was provided by a pair of 840 horsepower Bristol Mercury radials, which drove 3-blade metal propellers with a variable pitch. Defensive armament consisted of a fixed Browning machine gun installed on the wing, and a Vickers K gun installed in the semi-retractable turret in the fuselage. The aeroplane could carry a maximum of 1,000 pounds of bombs inside the aircraft. One of the main alterations of the original commercial aeroplane was dictated by the need to provide bomb bays. The wings were raised to a central position. The first production model appeared late in 1936 and a total of 152 Mark Is had been ordered by early 1939, when the Mark IVs went into production. The Blenheim Mark I became operational in January 1937, and by the end of the year, 16 bomber squadrons of the Royal Air Force were equipped with the new aircraft. In January 1938, the new bombers were sent overseas. When the war broke out, they remained in service in the Mediterranean, Africa, and in the colonies. The Mark Is were not sent back to Europe, where the air war was more intense. Attempts were made, however, to improve the aeroplane and provide it with additional defensive armament. 4 machine guns were installed in the belly of the fuselage, but this new version was not satisfactory as a heavy fighter for daylight or night operations. Nevertheless, it did make a contribution in testing the first radar equipment on night missions, and was also sold abroad to Finland, Yugoslavia and Turkey. The second production series of the Blenheims was Mark IVs, which entered service in early 1939. The forward part of the fuselage had a different configuration to the Mark I, and the aircraft was also longer. The Mark I had an enclosed cockpit, while the Mark IV had a windshield, and the nose was modified to accommodate the navigator and bomb aimer. The Mark IV also had different engines, 2 920 horsepower Mercury XVs. Additional fuel tanks were installed in the wings to increase the aircraft's range. Defensive armament consisted of 5 machine guns, while the bomb load increased to 1,320 pounds. When war broke out, there was 168 Mark IVs operational, in 1 night fighter squadron, in 2 Army co-operation squadrons, and in 7 bomber squadrons. 1 Mark IV bomber carried out the first RAF mission of the war. It was a reconnaissance flight over Germany on September 3rd, 1939. The next day, Blenheim 4s of numbers 107 and 110 squadrons attacked the German fleet, the first RAF Bomber Command mission of the war. Blenheim 4s remained in service for 3 years. Some of them were transformed into fighters for Coastal Command service. They were modified in much the same way as the Blenheim 1s had been. The rest of the Blenheims remained with Bomber Command Unit until August 1942, when they were replaced by American Douglas Bostons and de Havilland Mosquitoes. The Blenheim 4 saw service in Africa, the Mediterranean and in the Far East, as well as in the European theatre. Blenheim 4s continued in service in the Far East until October 1943. A great number of Blenheim Mark IVs were manufactured under licence in Canada. These aeroplanes were known as bolingbroke. A total of 676 were built. The bolingbroke Mark I was powered by Bristol Mercury engines. In total there was 7 variants of the Blenheim. There was the Blenheim Mark I, 3-seated twin-engine light bomber powered by 2 840 horsepower Bristol Mercury VIII radial piston engines, armed with a 303-inch machine gun in the port wing, plus a 303-inch Vickers K gun in the dorsal turret. Maximum bomb load was 1,000 pounds. 1,552 were built. Company designation was a Type 142M. The Blenheim Mark 1F night fighter version, equipped with an AI Mark III or Mark IV airborne interceptor radar, armed with the 4 303 machine guns in the special gun pack under the fuselage. About 200 Blenheim Mark Is were converted into Mark 1F night fighters. The Blenheim Mark II, large range reconnaissance version with an extra fuel tankage. Only one Blenheim Mark II was built. The Blenheim Mark IV, improved version fitted with protective armour and extended nose, powered by 2 905 horsepower Bristol Mercury XV radial piston engines, armed with the 303-inch machine gun in the port wing, plus 2 303-inch machine guns in a powered operated dorsal turret, and 2 remotely controlled rearward firing 303-inch machine guns mounted beneath the nose. Maximum bomb load 1,000 pounds initially and 320 pounds externally. 3,307 of these were built. The Blenheim Mark IVF was also a long-range fighter version, armed with the 4 303-inch machine guns in a special gun pack under the fuselage. About 60 Blenheim Mark IVs were converted into Mark IVF fighters. And finally there was the Blenheim Mark V, the high altitude bomber version, powered by 2 Bristol Mercury XV or 25 radial piston engines. Sadly, there is only one surviving Blenheim in the world. In Finland, this sole surviving original Blenheim in the world, a Mark IV registered as BL200 of the Finnish Air Force, has been completely restored and is now on display at the Aviation Museum of Central Finland. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd liked the video, click like. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and ring that bell so you'll be notified on all of these new documentaries that I am producing. Any questions, any comments, put them in the box below, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.